Welcome back. So good to be here again. I am going to do a video tonight that's exclusively about homeschooling. I know I've mentioned that I homeschool. I've talked about some aspects of what it looks like for us homeschooling, but I want to focus on homeschooling a little bit more moving forward because of a conversation I had today with a mom who's much more new to homeschooling, who's just starting out. I know this from previous conversations, but it just struck me in regards to my channel that one of the most reassuring things for anybody who's starting out doing something new in their world is to be in contact and get advice and reassurance and, any kind of helpful information from somebody who's an expert. And by expert, I don't mean that the way I homeschool my kids is right for anybody else. I mean that I have multiple children and I've been homeschooling for their entire school career since my oldest daughter was 3. And so I've been homeschooling for a total of 9 years now. And I feel like I know myself as a person. I know myself really well as a mom. I know each of my children really well and the way that they learn. Although the 3-year-old, we'll wait and see for that. But I've developed my own style. I've developed what I know works. I've developed my own self-forgiveness skills and my own expectations and just kind of, oh, silly kitty. One of my kitties is attacking a roll of toilet paper. It's so freaking cute. Distractions. Okay, so I've just developed who I am as a homeschooling mom. So I want to talk about my schedule. Most importantly, my schedule is an outline. It's a guideline. It does not happen every day. In fact, it doesn't happen most days, but it helps us to keep in kind of the right mindset and the right time frames when we can, when life allows. And what I have learned, especially as my kids get older, is that now that my 12-year-old is in middle school and my 8-year-old is in upper level elementary school and my 3-year-old's almost 4, so she's starting preschool, with their grade levels getting more advanced, their work getting more demanding, more challenging, and me having to homeschool multiple grades at the same time, and just with my general life having expanded so much. I mean, I have 5 cats now, I have 3 kids now, I have a home that I own now, but it wasn't all that way. That's happened a step at a time, and all of it adds to what has to be done in life. And so there are a lot of days when we don't get any school done. There are a lot of days when we get what we consider our minimal school done. And then there are a lot of days when we bust out so much school where we get like 6 solid FaceTime hours of schooling done that are mind-blowingly amazing and productive. So for me, homeschooling is a balance, just like life and anything you do. But I didn't have that mindset going into this at all. And every state has different requirements. So like here where I live in Colorado, the requirement or the guideline, more likely is how you would say it, is 172 days per year, I think, or I always round up to 175, and 4 hours a day. Well, when my oldest was 3 years old and I was pregnant with my middle daughter, I am not kidding you, I set a timer. I kept track of every minute. If we paused so that we could have lunch, I turned that timer off. If we paused so that we could run to the store for milk, I paused that timer. If we didn't have 4 hours on the clock and it was almost her bedtime, we continued school. Like, I just felt very much like, I think my big concern was I'm not qualified for this. Another big one was how am I ever going to do all of this? There was just a lot of pressure because in today's society, the mom is not typically thought of as the teacher. And I'm not a teacher. I didn't go to college. I don't have any qualifications. But what I want to say to every mom out there, here and now, is just like you have the instincts to parent your child, to care for your child, to be connected to your child, to support your child. You have all these mom instincts that some of them are there, like the foundation to all of those are there, but a lot of them is learning and growing. You have the skills and the instincts and the ability to learn and grow for this too. And so our schedule is different every day. We have a guideline, but our schedule has also changed over the years. I want to give you a couple key examples. When I was pregnant with my third daughter, she was due September 24th. So I knew, because my first two babies came right on time, basically right at 40 weeks. I knew that that was about when I was going to have a baby. And so I knew also, because I had already had two other babies, that I was not going to be able to, nor did I want to, homeschool during the first few months of the newborn baby's life. So that year, we finished our school year around May when I was pregnant, and we immediately went from that grade level's curriculum and all of those books to the next grade level. And we literally skipped our summer vacation. We did summer vacation for June, July, and August. Scratch that. We did school for June, July, and August. I did that knowingly so that the last couple weeks of September, week and a half, and then October, November, and December, we could take completely off. And that was our big vacation that year. It worked out perfectly. When we did start school in January, my infant was just over 3 months old, and I had, maybe 5 total nights of sleep in that 3 months. And so I felt, lively and refreshed and ready to go. Seriously. I mean, 3 months old, you're still exhausted. 4 years old, you're still exhausted. I think at about 6 years old, you catch up. I think. That's a guess, because I've never gotten that far without having another baby. But it was doable at that time. It was reasonable for me. The year that we bought our home, we live in a house that we own. We've lived here for 2 years. And the year that we bought this house, I started looking for a house in January. My daughters and I did 100% of the house hunting, 100% of the inspections, 100% of all of the logistics. So it became very clear to me going into house hunting and all of this for the first time within a few weeks that we were not going to get school done. Not that we were going to get shorter days done, or that we were going to get only core subjects done or anything like that. Like, we were not going to get school done. It just wasn't going to happen. I had to find a house, and we were under pressure to do it within a certain time frame because we were going to be kicked out of the place we were renting if we didn't get out soon enough. So at that time, I had 7 years of homeschooling under my belt, to where I had the confidence as a mom, as a homeschool teacher, to realize that my kids were getting hands-on life skills in an enormous amount during that time. I was 35 at the time, learning every single thing about buying a house at 35. And my then 10-year-old and 6-year-old were learning those same things at their tender young ages. If I had had some background knowledge going into buying my first house, it would have been a huge help for me. Not that they're going to remember a lot of those logistics, but the concept of this takes a lot of work. This takes a lot of dedication. This takes a lot of time. I went out of my way and did a lot of extra stuff to get us into a good house, because the market is insanely competitive here in Colorado. And that took extra time. They saw how we had to make sacrifices in our scheduling, and we couldn't just do what I always try to do for my kids and keep, wake up time consistent, nap time consistent, bedtime consistent. That's what I believe kids really need. I'm pretty religious about that, and we had to lay that aside because things were happening. I mean, we would literally go to look at a house, and by the time I got home and called my realtor and said, I like it, let's make a bid, she would say it was sold. There were days when, in fact, every day when I would get a list on my app that I had downloaded of houses in my range, houses with all my qualifications, houses in my area, and I would call my realtor and say, I want to go see these 10. And she would say, well, only 3 of those are still available. They've been sold. So it was high demand for our lives. It was high demand for our time. It was high demand for our scheduling. And it was high demand on my energy that I had to put into that. And they saw all of that. And I literally made the decision that for that 6-month period, their school was going to be life experience. Now that's called unschooling and is a type of homeschool. And a lot of parents do that exclusively. They let their children guide, they let life teach their kids. And I find that those skills are so valuable. I choose to do also very academic, like subjects that are required, that are set aside with certain books and certain curriculum that you find in public schools. But I also do a lot of life learning, and I knew how valuable that was for them at that time. So for all the young moms who are considering homeschooling, for all the moms who are just starting, for all the moms that have been doing it for an age and just need to hear it again, you're doing a good job. You're doing the right thing for your kids in this day in your life, and that's what matters. I just saw the really coolest meme, whatever that is, on Facebook. And it basically said, it doesn't matter if your kids are 3 years ahead in math. It doesn't matter if your kids are taking college courses by the time they're 14. It doesn't matter if your kids go on to the greatest careers. If they can't manage stress, if they can't handle life, if they can't maintain being happy people inside, none of that really matters. And so your kids being at home are being taught an entirely different set of skills that a teacher is not obligated to teach and does not have time or the capacity to teach to 30 individual human beings. You can cater your day, your school year, your week, your every second to your child's needs. And more than that, you can teach your child that sometimes their needs don't come first. Sometimes you need to take care of your needs. That's an incredible thing to teach your kids, because it teaches them in the future to then put their needs first. So you got this. Like, just start. Figure out where you want to start. Don't go crazy spending a ton of money on where you're going to start, because that is not where you're going to end up. And where you think you've ended up will change and will ebb and flow and grow and expand and morph and evolve. And that is awesome, because they're not cookie cutter gingerbreads. They are human beings, and they need somebody who knows them, who loves them, who has the legal ability to set really clear boundaries with them. That isn't a boundary that's made for everybody. It's a boundary considering them, and a boundary that you can set that helps them grow, instead of just, well, you're going to detention today. You can do something that helps them learn from their mistakes and from their life and grow as people inside. So I think I went on longer than I wanted to about that, but it's really important to me, and I will do a lot more of these homeschooling videos because I could talk forever about this and I have so much more to say. If you homeschool and you have any questions, if you have any comments, please leave them. I would love to do a video about something that you're curious about, something that you do, something that you've heard about that people do, whatever that is for homeschooling. So have a lovely, lovely night. Have a lovely, lovely night, and I'll talk to you tomorrow. Take care.